a few key features of the conceptual study. We're planning these greenways for everybody. These are for all the users, multi-use path, all different ages and abilities. And the routes that we studied that we're sharing with you tonight are meant to connect greenways to greenways within parks and to connect parks to parks. So our focus was less about the on-street aspects of other parts of the borough. So when you see us really focus on parks, that's by design. That was one of our goals of the project. So tonight we're going to share the conceptual plans for the segment of Queens that we looked at. And this presentation will be up on our Parks Department website tomorrow. And then next week, we'll be presenting the route along the Brooklyn waterfront that we also looked at. But it was too much to cover in one night, so we broke them into two segments. So if you're excited about Brooklyn too, please join us next week. And then we will share that presentation the day after that. So we have a two-week rollout here. So when we get started, the presentation's about a half an hour long. We have a few polls that we'll ask you for during the presentation. And then, as Mary said, the chat will be open throughout. Those questions will come into us, and we'll save some time at the end to review the questions and comments that come in through the chat as we proceed. And the person you'll write to is questions and comments within the chat, and that's our colleague named Eileen, but we named her questions for tonight. So I think with this, enough logistics, let's get started with the show. I'm gonna hand it over to Mitchell Loring. He's our colleague here in the planning office. He is a senior project planner and he's taken this on. We also are joined tonight by a special parks guest, Zoe Piccolo, who's here, who kicked off this project with us long back. So hello, Zoe, thanks so much for joining us. You knew I would embarrass you. And over to you, Mitchell, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. And I just want to make sure you all can see the presentation right now. Yes, great. Okay. Thank you very much. So, Destination Greenways is a study to holistically plan for greenway improvement projects in our parks and on the streets connecting those open spaces. New York City Parks received a $1 million grant from the Helmsley Charitable Trust to create a conceptual improvement plan for one greenway in Brooklyn and one in Queens. We'll discuss the Queens route tonight. The focus of this project is to improve the greenway system within parks, better connect parks to each other, and improve greenway safety. We partnered with DOT to ensure we are thinking comprehensively about how to make those on-street connections where needed. And I'm now going to launch our first poll. This poll is about greenway use. We want to understand how everyone here tonight normally uses the greenway. So go ahead, please take a second and respond, and I'll pause for a second to give you a moment to read. Okay, I'll give it a few more moments. Okay, so quick snapshot. It looks like between walking and cycling, or also the option where we included walking and cycling equally, we have about equal usage. So that's good to see some various modes all represented here tonight. So how did we get here? The project began in summer 2020. 2 virtual workshops were held, one in November 2020 and one in May 2021, to collect input and feedback on the route. We are here tonight to share the results of all the input we received and the conceptual projects developed from your feedback. I want to emphasize that the goal of this project was to create a concept plan for improvements to the Greenway route. No projects have been funded at this point. I repeat, no projects have been funded at this point. But once funding is dedicated to a project, the actual design process with site investigations and technical drawings will begin. So although we'll be showing you route maps and images of what we hope these greenways will become, please remember that these projects all still need to be designed, and you will have an opportunity to get involved in the process as we move forward. I'm now going to do 2 more polls before we leave this slide. Here's this first poll. We'd like to get a sense of how many of you here tonight attended the past meetings for Destination Greenways. So please respond to the poll and let us know. Okay, I'll stop there. Great, so it looks like a majority of the respondents to the poll attended our past meeting. And now I will launch this poll. Please also take a moment to share your home zip code or neighborhood with us so we have a sense of what areas are being represented tonight. As I mentioned, there has been a lot of community engagement to inform these plans and get us to this point. 2 public workshops were held. Over 500 people registered to attend these 2 meetings where we shared information on the routes and went over specific details with attendees in breakout rooms to better understand the existing conditions and what folks wanted to see improved. For those that couldn't attend the workshops, we hosted an interactive project website online for over a year to collect additional feedback. And we held a pop-up event this past summer to get on-the-ground information from people using the Greenway. All the input we received was analyzed and applied to the plan as we divided the route into distinct improvement project areas. The pie chart you see here is a broad summary of the input we received from all our engagement activities for this study. We heard that we should prioritize work that improves safety, increases connectivity, clearly defines the route, addresses maintenance issues, and adds new park amenities in the process. The Greenway route we are looking at today stretches across a large area of eastern Queens for approximately 13 miles. Currently, there is a signed route that exists, but it has many different existing conditions along its length and does not always feel cohesive. In some sections inside of parks, you may have a clear path of travel, but the direction you're supposed to go to continue on the Greenway isn't clearly marked. There are some sections with great on-street facilities, but they reach a park and don't connect to a similarly great path inside the park. Some sections of the Greenway have been around for a long time and are ready to receive some attention to restore their condition. And there are some great sections of this Greenway that could still be further improved by adding consistent features throughout the route, like signage and striping. So, we want to comprehensively improve the entire route from Flushing Meadows Corona Park to Joe Michael's Mile. To do this, we developed a list of 9 project areas that we are going to share with you in this presentation. These projects vary in cost and complexity, some with unique features, but the guiding principle of this plan is a consistently comfortable Greenway route with a clear direction of travel and accommodations for all Greenway users. Additionally, all the projects are proposed to include lighting, consistent signage and striping, and the inclusion of drinking fountains, seating, bike racks, and bike repair stands where we can accommodate those amenities. I'll now run through the projects from west to east. If you have any questions or comments, please send those to us in the chat during the presentation to the questions and comments person in the chat box. Please indicate which project your question is for, and we'll answer some of the questions at the end of the presentation. We'll begin our tour with Project 1 in Flushing Meadows Corona Park, specifically the area around Meadow Lake. Before we dive in, I want to explain the layout of these slides as we go through the projects, because there is a lot of information here. On the top left in blue, you'll see the project number and name. Below that, you'll see a bulleted list of proposed improvements. To the right, you'll find maps and images illustrating the vision of the project. And here, below the bulleted list, you'll see a $ indication of the project's costs. We are using these dollar symbols instead of an actual dollar amount because these projects are just conceptual. They need additional investigation to pin down an exact amount, but we'll be working on that as we advance these projects for funding. For now, you can think of $1 as a range up to $5 million. $2 means a project could cost up to $10 million. $3 is around $15 million, and $4 indicates a project that is $20 million or more. So let's start here on Project 1, Flushing Meadows Corona Park, Meadow Lake. Project 1 proposes a designated greenway route around the west side of Meadow Lake, but we would also include improvements to the paths on the east side of the lake as well. Bike access will still be allowed all around the lake. Meadow Lake Road was closed to vehicle traffic in 2020, so this project would repurpose some of that extra roadway width with new plantings to help buffer the greenway from the Grand Central Parkway and beautify this section of the park. The plan also includes new picnic groves and seating areas around the lake, including additional trees and lawns to better activate the space between the greenway and the lake. Project 2 is just north of the lake, still inside of Flushing Meadows Corona Park, a small area near the Meadow Lake Creek and underneath the Long Island Expressway ramps. Project 2, Flushing Meadows Corona Park, Meadow Lake Creek Overlook, proposes to build a new link to better connect Greenway users inside the park, traveling between Meadow Lake and the World's Fair areas of Flushing Meadows, underneath the Long Island Expressway ramps. This project would restore the shoreline of Meadow Lake Creek and provide a new boardwalk overlook area with educational signage. The plan also activates this underused park space by adding new amenities like fitness stations and seating areas. The next project is also in Flushing Meadows, but this time north of the expressway. Project 3, Flushing Meadows Corona Park, World's Fair Avenue Promenades. Project 3 proposes restriping the wide three-tiered promenades on the grounds of the World's Fair to designate a dedicated greenway route along the center lanes of those corridors. This new configuration would reduce conflicts between pedestrians and cyclists inside the park by clearly designating a through route for the greenway traveling east-west from 111th Street to College Point Boulevard, and provide an easier connection south to Meadow Lake along the proposed creek overlook. For the next project, we're moving out of Flushing Meadows and onto the street between College Point Boulevard and Main Street. Project 4, College Point Boulevard to Casino Corridor Park West. Project 4 is a large, two-part project to connect Flushing Meadows Corona Park to Casino Corridor Park at Main Street. Let's focus on the proposed on-street improvements first. Because the green space between the two parks is the Queens Botanical Garden, which has specific operating hours and gates, the greenway will need to go on-street from College Point Boulevard to Main Street to ensure consistent access. Our proposal is to place a new two-way bike lane on a short stretch of Ruth Memorial Ave, then continue along 133rd Street, Elder Ave, and Peck Avenue to Main Street, following the sidewalk at the southern edge of the Botanical Garden. This plan also includes intersection redesigns to better accommodate greenway users crossing College Point Boulevard and Main Street. The second part of Project 4 crosses Main Street and continues east into Casino Corridor Park. The second part of Project 4 focuses on improvements within Casino Corridor Park. A new entrance to the park is proposed at the intersection of Main Street and Peck Avenue to guide the new on-street route into the park. This additional entrance will make it easier to access the greenway and the rest of the park for the neighborhoods nearby. The plan also proposes a big safety improvement by creating a new greenway route inside Casino Corridor Park from Main Street to Casino Boulevard, bringing those users into the park and off the nearby streets. Moving east, the next three projects are all adjacent to each other inside of Casino Park. Project 5A, Casino Park paths and renovated entrances. Project 5A proposes a new dedicated greenway path through the southern portion of Casino Park to provide a through route inside the park and minimize conflicts between pedestrians and cyclists in the busy northern area of the park. Although this project's highlight is the new path in the southern part of the park, the northern pathways would also be restored to improve the bumpy and sometimes ponding condition that exists today. The plan also proposes redesigning the park entrances and intersections at Casino Boulevard and 164th Street to better accommodate the Greenway. Finally, this project also proposes a new boardwalk area spanning the wetlands in the park, providing a unique seating area overlooking this special natural area. Project 5B, Casino Park Swamp Forest, is a smaller add-on project to the Greenway construction in Casino Park. This project proposes a comprehensive restoration of the wetland area around the new boardwalk to create an ecologically diverse swamp forest, improving the local biodiversity and adding much-needed shade to this section of the park. Project 6, Casino Park Velodrome Connection. The final project inside of Casino Park is located at the Velodrome. Project 6 proposes a spur of the Greenway to be built directly to connect the Casino Velodrome to the main Greenway path in the park. Currently, the only access to the Velodrome is from the south of the park at Booth Memorial Avenue. This project would better connect the neighborhoods north and south of Casino Park with a direct connection through the park that doesn't exist today. The plan also includes a new comfort station located between the velodrome and the ball fields to serve the Greenway users and other park users at this busy activity area. Moving east again, the next project focuses on a green corridor north of the Casino Golf Course. Project 7, 164th Street to Fresh Meadow Lane. Project 7 proposes to improve safety by bringing the Greenway off of Underhill Avenue and moving it into the park with a new dedicated Greenway path between 164th Street and 170th Street. The plan also expands the entrance into the park at 170th Street and Underhill Avenue, making it easier to access the Greenway from the adjacent neighborhoods. The plantings along this strip are proposed to be restored to help control invasive species and beautify this stretch of Greenway. The plan also includes an intersection redesign to better accommodate Greenway users crossing 164th Street. Traveling across Utopia Parkway, the next project is within Casino Corridor Park East, north of Cunningham Park and the Vanderbilt Motor Parkway. Project 8, Casino Corridor Park East. Project 8 proposes a major safety enhancement by bringing the Greenway off of Underhill Avenue and into the park with a new dedicated Greenway path inside of Casino Corridor Park between Utopia Parkway and 58th Avenue. Additional amenities would also be added to the park corridor, like new picnic areas, seating, and fitness stations. The plan also includes intersection redesigns to better accommodate Greenway users crossing Utopia Parkway, 188th Street, and 58th Avenue. Our last project takes us to the beautiful Alley Pond Park and the on-street connections between the park and the Joe Michaels Mile. We are skipping over the Vanderbilt Motor Parkway because New York City Parks is already actively rebuilding this historic Greenway segment. Phase 1 of the project opened at the end of last year, and Phase 2 is projected to begin construction this year. We also do not have a project at Joe Michaels Mile in this plan because a portion of that Greenway area was rebuilt in 2018, and a second project to further improve areas on that route is currently in design here at Parks. Project 9, Alley Pond Park to Northern Boulevard. Project 9 is a large two-part project to improve the connection from Vanderbilt Motor Parkway all the way north to the Joe Michaels Mile, through and along the edge of Alley Pond Park. We'll focus on the park improvements first. The plan proposes to widen an existing path to create a dedicated Greenway route across the core activity area of Alley Pond Park and north to the existing bike lanes on 73rd Avenue and 230th Street. The new Greenway route would reduce pedestrian-cyclist conflicts in the park by providing a clear path to follow and continue along the Greenway. The second component of Project 9 targets on-street improvements to better connect the Vanderbilt Motor Parkway to Joe Michaels Mile. South of Alley Pond Park, a bike boulevard is proposed for Cloverdale Boulevard on the low-traffic streets between the park and the Vanderbilt Motor Parkway. North of 73rd Avenue, the Greenway will follow the existing two-way bike lanes that hug the edge of Alley Pond Park's natural areas. We decided it was best to keep these facilities in place rather than cutting a new greenway through the park due to the sensitive nature of the intact forest in the park and the lack of a built-out curb and sidewalk on the edge of the park. As you can see in the photo below, Greenway users will be able to use the bike lanes or the sidewalk on either side of the street. Continuing a bit further north, the plan proposes coordination with New York State Department of Transportation to expand the sidewalk on the East Hampton Boulevard overpass of the Long Island Expressway to accommodate a raised two-way greenway path. Safety enhancements are also proposed at the intersection of Cloverdale Boulevard and Northern Boulevard to better accommodate greenway users entering the Joe Michaels Mile. Finally, as these plans are implemented, New York City DOT will explore new on-street bike lane projects with Community Board 11 to better connect nearby neighborhoods to the improved greenway. So, that wraps up the project descriptions for our Queens Destination Greenway. The long-term goal is to complete all of the projects discussed today, but it is likely that these projects will advance one or two at a time as funding is allocated, rather than all together. I'm going to launch another poll now. We want you to let us know what you think is the most important project on this list to improve the overall Greenway experience. Please respond to this poll to indicate the project you would like to see advance first. And I'll leave this up and I'll pause for a few moments. I know it's a lot of information to take in, so please read and select your favorite project.
Oh, wow. This is exciting to see. We need music for this one, some background music.
Okay. And I will share these results. Everyone take a moment and look at what we have here. Looks like Project 4 and Project 9 and Project 1 all have quite a bit of support. But it looks like no project was left without a vote. So that's exciting to see. Okay. So let's return to this timeline. I want to remind you that we don't have any funds to implement these projects yet. The next step is to advocate for funding to actually build the ideas in this conceptual plan. As the projects become funded, they will follow the standard parks and DOT processes. There will be community design meetings and presentations to community boards, so please keep up with your local community board to follow these projects from idea to implementation. You can help us go from the roadmap we showed tonight to actual shovels in the ground by spreading the word about this study with your neighbors, your community board, your council members, and state representatives. And we've been collecting comments and questions during the presentation, so we'll now take some time to answer some of those questions. Sarah?
Hi. Here we go. Thanks so much, everybody. We do all this preparation, and then to actually see the poll answers come in is a very exciting moment for us. So thanks so much for participating. We've received quite a handful of interesting comments that have come in through Mitchell's great presentation. Thank you, Mitchell. In fact, one of them was that you are an excellent speaker, so congratulations. I think a few things came in that are somewhat about logistics. We received some questions. We will be sharing this presentation on the Parks Department website, and we'll post that right here, and our IT folks are going to post that tomorrow. So we don't have it tonight, but it'll go up tomorrow. And then if you can go to the next slide that has those websites on it, yeah. And then also, can we put in the chat the meeting registration information for the Brooklyn meeting next week so that folks have that link as well? I think somewhere on our project team, we can post that into the chat so we get that one addressed. Somebody was asking about this poll after the second question. I think that was the one about the if you've been to the meetings before. I think that one was about 2/3 of the people were a yes and 1/3 were a no. We have a question here about coming to the community boards. What we have, as Mitchell just described, is we're at this moment in the process where we've completed this conceptual study. I'm being asked, can we put the link back up? If we can go back to that slide.
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Okay.
It's looking funky on my screen, so I'm going to stop sharing and then reshare.
Got it. Okay. So the question about community boards. So these projects right now are concept ideas, and as they get funded, then each project will sort of enter, if in the Parks project, the process is that it will then go through the Parks capital process to become a built project, which means that it goes to the community board once, sometimes twice, depending on the project. So we'll be bringing the individual projects to the community boards. But if you invite us, we'll come to your community board too. So we won't automatically go, but if we're invited, we would happily join you. That might be easier to hear me without extra distractions. We are getting some nice comments that people like the plans and the goals. There's a question about whether we've included Joe Michael's Mile, Fort Totten, and Crocheron. And I think, Mitchell, I think you covered Joe Michael's Mile, and Crocheron is along there. These are projects that have been, or Greenway segments that have been fairly recently done, and so we thought they weren't necessarily... Okay, there's appreciation about Casino Park, the wetlands, and a question about whether that's something we can do at Meadow Lake. I know we are working on the restoration of the pathway along the side of Meadow Lake. I'm not sure if there's a separate project around any of the wetlands or ecology there. Commissioner Dockett, are you aware if there's anything going on in the short term in that vicinity?
I don't think there's anything planned at the moment, but there has been a recent project that's completed. And actually, I do believe there's something in design, actually, around Meadow Lake for the pathway, kind of like flood mitigation work and entrance work.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I think another important point, Sarah, just for all the projects, since these are just conceptual right now and they still need to be designed, when we actually get to that point of looking at the site-specific details for each project area, if there's something that makes sense and we hear from the community or during the community board process or even with our own parks internal designers that say if we're restoring the greenway around Meadow Lake, why don't we also look at the natural areas there? That's something that we can do. The beauty of the conceptual plan is we aren't at the end yet. We're towards the beginning of getting these to be true designs. So there's possibilities that still exist.
And I apologize, folks. I actually misspoke. The question was actually about Willow Lake, not about Meadow Lake. I misspoke about that. Sorry. Is Willow Lake along this path? It's Commissioner.
Commissioner
I think it's further south, isn't it?
Willow Lake is the smaller natural area lake.
Yeah.
So I think we did the path around the large lake, not the small.
Got it. Okay.
Sorry, my question was about Meadow Lake.
Oh, so there was. Okay, thank you. We are also seeing, there's a great question here about, are we doing this in other boroughs? Terrific question. We would really like to do this type of program in other boroughs. We're looking at, this is the first time we've done this kind of conceptual planning for parks greenways across multiple parks. So we were looking at ones where there were a lot of parks in easy proximity that we already had all of the land ownership worked out. And so the question here is about the Bronx, and we are, we're working on the Tibbetts Brook Greenway project up there, and we are actually very interested in a sort of a destination greenways type of study for the Bronx too. So it is something we very much like to pursue, and thanks for raising that one.
I'll chime in that we're working on developing some studies for other boroughs. Some of the on-street stuff is really important to DOT. Thank you, Chauncey, for continuing to advocate for it. It helps.
There's a question coming in about signage. And yes, part of the vision here is that they'll be, not only will these be connected physically, but they'll also make sense. As you're traveling along, there'll be signage and other sort of wayfinding techniques to help you get from place to place. So there's a yes on that one. And there's a comment about sort of general Flushing Meadows conditions not being safe. There's a lot of potholes. And so there's some questions kind of needing, general road maintenance in Flushing Meadows area. And again, getting from Roosevelt Ave to the rec center. So thank you for that comment. And I don't know if Commissioner, if you have thoughts on that, but we'll definitely appreciate that comment. Thank you. And we're getting a reminder about information about the Brooklyn event. So we'll get that one posted. Seeing a question about allocating funding through the budget process, or will the funding come from electeds? That's a great question. Parks, we do quite a bit of our funding comes through both mayoral funding from the mayor's office and through our elected officials, and so we tend to sort of make requests both ways. And so with these projects right now, we're we just wrapped up this study, and we're getting a sense of priority out there and moving ahead through that. And what we'll do is we will send the Brooklyn information to I know there's one person specifically asking for it, but also it is available on the Parks website in the upcoming events. Oh, and Mary has just posted it to the chat. But we are going to wrap this up